Gets it off in time. And he's got it, baby! Big time Nets win!
Oof, the only net fans you know? The only Nets fans you know? Man. I mean, come on, man. Or are these guys?
Welcome back to the Only Net Fans You Know podcast. I'm Peter. Welcome to episode number 77. Our guest today is a Nets live streamer. He's an up-and-coming Nets content creator on YouTube. He spent years studying the game. Welcome to the show, BKNY Hoops. What's going on, bro?
Hey, man. Glad to actually be here. How's everything going, Pete?
Good. You're doing me a major favor. I had 3 cancellations this week, and you just came up like the 6th man, and I thank you a lot for coming through.
Hey, not a problem, man. I can't miss this one for the world.
I've heard that your live stream is quote-unquote the streets, as in you got a lot of people on the panel. You got guys like Harlan, Jonathan, these knowledgeable guys that come up, and you guys just debate all night.
Yeah. I'll take calls and people, whoever wants to come in and, give their opinions. And a lot of people disagree with me. Still actually study the game. I really enjoy it. I have a real passion for basketball. I break down the players and, look at how these guys can actually really get better pretty much. Even though I'm a Nets fan, but I have to be real when it actually really comes to the players. And we're going to get into that tonight over here, man. A lot of you guys may not like what I actually have to say about a couple of key players we're going to talk about tonight.
You're a very nice guy. I like you, man. You seem like a cool dude, but I'm going to be honest with you. If you say some shit I don't like, I'm going to tell you. So
there's no problem.
I've heard your Ben Simmons takes are a little wild. You're still holding water for the man. Is this true?
Oh man, the percentages are actually going down, and I use the metaphorical analogies that if you have a car that you really like, that you really truly like, and it just really keeps breaking down on you, and you got to keep putting money into it, and just money into it, and it's just a money pit. Eventually you actually have to get a new car. My patience is almost running thin now, man.
How is your patience not done by now?
Because he's a 6'11" point guard, and they don't grow on trees. And I know that basketball is about matchups, and it's pretty hard to match up when you have a 6'3", 6'4" point guard, and you have a 6'11" point guard. I mean, defenses they're gonna have to actually come with help immediately, and it gets guys like guys who can't create off the dribble, like Dorian Finney-Smith and Mikal Bridges, Cam Thompson. Gets those guys much easier baskets right there.
In theory, that sounds very nice, and we know Ben Simmons is known for creating open looks from 3, but I feel like the last couple of years, people have just been sitting on him by the free throw line. Yes, he doesn't want the contact. Let's face it, right? I still think he's a gifted passer.
When you have injuries like this, especially like a back injury, there's a psychological component to it. And even if he actually comes back, let's say he comes back 100% healthy, I mean, there's a mental hurdle that he actually has to clear to know that he can actually trust his body. And it's really tough. And it may take a while for him. I don't know. I like the fact that with him is that he can give you 10 points by just, you don't have to run plays for him. He can pretty much rebound, like offensive rebound, put the ball back. Like you just said, he's a gifted passer, excellent defender. And just the fact that he can get to the rim when he's healthy and 3 to 4 dribbles.
But how come he hasn't been able to score with the Nets?
Well, there's a scouting report, and everybody knows what
everybody has a scouting report.
Yeah. Everybody knows what Ben is actually really going to do over there, man. They know his strength is to get downhill. And, I've shown, like film studies about Ben Simmons. If you don't actually run a second man at him, I mean, he's 6'11", 240 going against 200-pound point guards. It's going to be layup and dunk after dunk after dunk. So they actually have to put a wall around him pretty much, get him to actually, get the ball up and make somebody else try to beat you. Has
there been a wall around him the last 2 years since he's worn a Nets uniform?
At times. That's that's his strength. That's what really got him into the NBA. So his strength is able to break a defense down and get to the rim and look to actually make plays. It's like a poor man's Giannis Antetokounmpo, pretty much, though.
You are just talking nonsense right now. A couple years ago, I might have agreed with you, okay?
Yeah, a couple of years ago. But, we see flashes of it. We see flashes.
Listen, bro, we got to be honest here. What would you say his role could be next year? This is what I personally think, all right? I envision 15 minutes a game coming off the bench. Maybe he plays half the season. And if he does that, I think I might be happy with it, considering he hasn't been healthy for the last 2-3 years. What do you think?
It depends on his health and his confidence. Yes, I mean, listen, Ben Simmons as a backup point guard, going against he's a really kind of like, if he's healthy, a starting caliber point guard going against a backup point guard. I mean, we definitely have an advantage there, but it all depends. Maybe you do play him, you start him in the first 20 games. I mean, especially a lot of the veteran teams, these guys are looking at the NBA as a marathon, not a sprint. They're not going to really start going hard until like maybe after 20 to 25 games. They got to warm themselves up pretty much, depending on who they actually get though, and who the coaches. There's a lot of factors that actually come into that.
I want to get into CT and Bridges, but I was just thinking about what you just said. So if you start Ben Simmons for those 20 games, isn't that kind of messing up your team chemistry? You want those 20 games to build up your starting five. Why would you have someone come in to play those 20 games?
It depends. Like we see with Mikal Bridges. I mean, he's not like he doesn't really have explosiveness, athleticism in his game, and especially like ball handling. I don't think you're going to be able to solve that over the summer. And you need somebody out there that can get these guys like wide open looks, man. And so if you look at like a Ja Morant, Giannis, how these guys, like Pascal Siakam, I mean, these guys can just cause a defense to actually have to collapse on them. Like, you got to get the ball out of their hands. So we just don't have really anybody on the roster that can actually do that and get guys like DFS, a Clowney, wide open shots.
I want to see what you think about this. Can CT play point guard? I have a very strong opinion on it, but I'm going to let you go first.
I mean, all right, it's a certain mindset that actually comes to playing the point guard position.
He could draw the defenses in.
Yeah, but his mindset is he's wired to score. That's the whole thing. If you look at Ben Simmons, and one of the problems with him is he's wired to be a point guard. I mean, that's why you don't really see him like score as much at times when he should score. He's always looking, for that open man, always looking for that cutter. That's his mindset. And it's really kind of hard to switch that off and to have him say, and we need you to be a scorer. And it's the same thing with Cam Thomas. It's tough. I mean, I would say yes. But again, you got to look at it on the defensive end too. I mean, the point guard position in terms of like these guards, you see the guards, Jamal Murray, Ja Morant, Halliburton. I mean, these guys are tough, man. What's his name? De'Aaron Fox. These guys are tough, and it's Cam Thomas's responsibility to really try to put some type of resistance on these guys and actually go out there and run an offense and be an extension of the actual coach right there, man.
Why can't you have Cam Thomas be the point guard on offense, and then on defense he covers the shooting guard?
Shooting guards, yeah, I mean that works out too. Yeah, you could probably do that. I don't know. I don't know about, like I said, it's a certain mindset that you actually have to have, man.
Listen, I don't know if they're going to get anybody. I've heard they're going to be interested in looking at Mitchell. They're going to be interested in looking at Murray. My thought on that was, why not get this guy Murray at the trade deadline? Whatever, it did not happen. I don't know if the price is going to go up. I don't know if it's going to go down. But if we are taking, let's forget about those guys. If we are bringing in the roster that we had this season next year, I am going to be so happy if they keep this guy, Dennis Schroder, on the roster. He's on a very good contract. You could probably trade him at the trade deadline if he continues his game. He's played pretty well with us. 14 points, I think close to 6 assists, 3 rebounds. It's been 28 games, 24 starts, 31 minutes. He's shooting 42% from the field, 42% from 3. I like what I've seen. I like the energy. Most importantly, I think he can get downhill sometimes. Is this guy the future of the Nets? No. But starting next year as a gap year point guard, man, you could do a lot worse.
we need somebody that can actually hold their own on defense somewhat. It's just his size. I mean, he's 6 foot, I think 164 pounds, I believe. I mean, that's just
6'1", he's 6'1", 172.
172. Okay. I mean, if he was 190 pounds and he was much stronger, I mean, he's a great backup. I mean, I wouldn't want him as a starting point guard. Again, because you just got to look at who he has to match up to. And you look at other point guards around the NBA, and and let's say other teams around the NBA. Let's say Dennis Schroder's off the Brooklyn Nets. He actually wants to start. He says, "Listen, I wanted to be traded, or when his contract is up next year, I want to go to a team where I can start." Well, look around the NBA. He's not starting on Charlotte. He's not starting on Sacramento. He's not starting on the Lakers. He's not starting on the Clippers. They just have better players that, there's better point guards. There's better players that are actually out there.
You don't think that he could go to a contender at the trade deadline? I don't think that's an issue at all. I think he could come off the bench for a guy. Maybe he says, you know what? Denver wants you. They're going to go, they might make a big run to the finals. You think he's going to say no to that? He's going to be a free agent after that year. And if he plays well, get all that exposure. I really don't think that that's too horrible for him. I really don't.
Well, so on this team, you saying that you want him to come off the bench, or you want him?
I want him to start. I don't mind if they don't get anybody else. I'm taking the roster we have now and putting it to next year. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, maybe you're right though. I just look at if we had this. I mean, I'm just trying to picture him as a starting caliber point guard around this. He's a
gap. Time out. I'm calling him a gap. This is a gap year. Obviously, I don't want him to be the long-term guy. I could probably name 15 guys that are better than him at the point guard position. Of guys that are starting in the NBA, right? I could also name a lot of guys that he's better than. I don't think he moves the needle to get you over the top, per se. And it definitely doesn't. This guy is not going to get us into the playoffs by himself. But as a piece, as a stopgap, you have Jeremy Lin, who the Nets signed a couple years ago. They knew he wasn't going to be. They knew he wasn't going to be the guy, but they said, 1 year, 2 years, you're going to be the stopgap until we find somebody else, and that's what Schroder is. And you can get, most importantly, you can get an asset back if he's healthy and he's playing well, which I think he will be.
He's just not. He's not. If he can do what he did tonight, let's say
he didn't have to though, bro.
6 out of every 10 games. Then I would agree, but you don't see this on he's just not consistent with this. And his 3-point shot actually has to be falling. That's one of the main things.
He's shooting 42% from three.
Yeah. Tonight he was 2 out of 8 right now. But he's actually getting it done. I mean, you know what? I do agree. When I kind of think about it, I'll give you that. Yeah.
You're not giving him enough credit. Also, keep this in mind. The guy's played 79 games. He plays games. For a Nets team with so many injuries, oh my God, it's so beautiful to have another guy that can play every game and you don't have to worry about it, right? I think that's something that's not talked about also. But man, the whole point guard position is going to be very interesting. I can't wait to see what happens. I would not be shocked if they brought back Schroder as the starter. I would not be shocked if you saw Murray come opening day.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts on point guard?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it will be in training camp. They'll have a little competition if Ben Simmons does come back, and you have DeJounte Murray there. I mean, you can even have DeJounte Murray as a combo guard, like as a 2 guard, pretty much, and then you can move Mikal Bridges to that three position there, the small forward.
CT.
I mean,
CT.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true. It's going to be a contract year. I think he's due for an extension next year, right?
He's eligible for one.
He's eligible for one. So we'll see actually how that works out. Is he going to play for a contract, or is he actually going to play team basketball?
Very quickly, who's a better fit for the Nets, Mitchell or Murray? Rapid answer. No, nothing else.
I say DeJounte Murray because he gives you more playmaking. Yeah. And like you were saying, the contract.
The contract, he's very good. He's
Yeah.
very good. It's not that expensive.
Yep.
The defense would work well, and he goes downhill.
Yep.
All
And
right.
he's taller. He's 6'5".
Let's go to center now.
Uh-oh.
Claxton. Besides
Ooh.
Spencer Dinwiddie, Claxton was maybe the player that was mentioned to me the most by insiders. Easily the most polarizing net this year, I think. Some teams love him, some teams hate him. The analytics say this guy's a god. The eye test says he looks like a small forward, according to you and one of my insiders, which I thought was very astute by you to say that. So it's very interesting that the Nets did not trade him. I heard from 3 sources saying this guy's gone. He's going to go out west. At least 2 West teams were interested. One, I know for a fact, offered a deal to us for him. And now we're in a position of you have to overpay him or he might walk for nothing. What do you think?
Well, we've seen a large sample size of him, and we look at that record, and he caused so many spacing issues, which probably neutered Mikal Bridges and Cam Thomas this year. Teams dropped back on him. When you saw Clowney, that was actually inserted in the starting lineup because of the scouting report, his ability to actually shoot the 3. Even Sarah Kustok, finally, she said something positive. She was always bigging Claxton up over here. I'm like, listen, hold on, man. He's undersized. He's 215 pounds. If you look at most of the centers around the NBA, they're 240, 250, 260. And, we've seen guys like Jericho Sims, the Knicks' third-string center, just really, have a career year against him. And, this is just not and he, offensively, listen, I would say, in today's NBA, offense is just as important as defense, if not even more offensively. You look at the top centers around the NBA, 30 points, like Joel Embiid can get you 30. And if we're matched up against Joel Embiid, we got to make this man play some defense, man, or he'll have a field day against us, pretty much. And he doesn't give you no offense. He doesn't give you no ball handling. If you look at Jokic, you look at Şengün, the top centers around the NBA, Bam Adebayo, Joel. These guys can handle the ball. They can initiate offense for themselves. They don't have to be set up. They can shoot. They can pass. So Nic Claxton doesn't really give you that many skills. I think he's more of a 3 in terms of his frame, his weight.
I think the Nets did a very, very odd thing this year. Last year, they were very switch happy, which I guess you could say makes sense because Claxton's main skill on defense, at least I would personally say, is that he could defend on the perimeter. So last year they do that. This year they seem to totally switch it up, stop switching, and you took Claxton kind of out of the scheme. You made him play out of the scheme, like he's not doing his best attribute or his best skill. I thought that was very strange. If you're not doing all these switches with Claxton, I have to think that hurts his value. I think the next team that he goes to is going to be a team that likes to do a lot of switches. I would assume so. I think he's going to get the bag. Are you giving him $25 million? Yes or
no? Nope. No. Hell no.
So who starts at center next year?
I would start either Clowney,
no,
or Day'Ron. One of the two.
It
can't be Claxton. Listen, it can't be Claxton. At least with Day'Ron, he's 265. He's a big body, and then as a screen setter, we've seen Nic Claxton try to set screens, and he's too light. Guys can pretty much just go around him or fight through those screens. But at least with Day'Ron, it'll be hard to fight over those screens. So if he could set a screen for Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, especially with Cam Johnson, these guys, Cam Johnson is really good at coming off of a screen and then shooting threes. That would actually really truly help right there. But Claxton, if this is the 1990s, I would say, yeah, give Claxton $100 million contract because they, most of those sensors back then, like all the power forwards were like one dimensional, pretty like Charles Oakley types, and but today you look at like power forwards, and people argue with me. They say, "Hey, BK, you could put him at the power forward." I said, "Well, there's Giannis, there's AD, there's Paulo Banchero. The power forwards are even worse than the sensors, man." Hoops Hypes had him as the ninth best sensor around the NBA, better than Şengün. I was like, what?
I think that's analytics that do that. Like I said, analytically, I talked to one guy in analytics. This guy's worked for MLB Statcast, Pro Football Focus, and now he's at Basketball Index. He's working with guys that they pretty much sell like analytics to teams and to agencies and whatnot. And man, he last year and even this year, matter of fact, I had an episode with him this year a couple weeks ago. It just got damaged, so unfortunately I can't use it. But most important part of the episode, Claxton is still playing like an all-star, and according to analytics, last year, and especially during the 7-Eleven era when he was getting a lot more minutes and getting those games with KD and Kyrie, he was almost at a all NBA level according to analytics. Forget what the eye test says. You know that there's a lot of GMs out here that are looking at those analytics and they're just drooling. So it's so polarizing with this guy. It's to each their own. Back to the question.
Hold on. Come on, you look at like Şengün and then look at Claxton. I mean, come on, man. I get the analytics part about it. I understand it, but I'm like, really? I mean, you can't run your offense through him. You can't pay a guy well, I guess with the salary cap going up, maybe $100 million for a role player is but you can like let's say if you do get to the playoffs, I mean, you can marginalize him so easy, man. I mean, he just has one layer to his game, and I think like the deeper you go into the play, I mean, with Ben Simmons, man. I mean, if he can't shoot and be like a off the ball, off the ball scorer, being able to actually shoot off the ball, I mean, that's a problem right there because he's very ball centric. If he doesn't really have the ball in his hands, I mean, he's like another Nic Claxton pretty much out there, which is what gives Ben Simmons the edge, is that he can actually handle the basketball. He's a great passer, but take the ball out of his hands, now he's another Nic Claxton, and you can marginalize him. So there's like development on his part. And Ben is one of my favorite players in the NBA, and I can say that about him. So I damn sure can say that about Nic Claxton right there, man. It's just so much things he actually has to work on. And, even if you develop, I mean, this is stuff that he actually he should have worked on, at least getting stronger. That's the least he can get to, at least it's 230 pounds.
You don't think you don't think he was doing that? You think he was just chilling? Come on.
I don't know, man. I mean, you can say that about a lot of players around the NBA. What was Ben doing? Why Ben Simmons
recovering from surgery?
No, I mean prior to that.
What do you mean? He's been recovering from surgery the last 2 years.
No, I mean prior to him actually getting hurt. He didn't work on his 3-point shooting. He didn't work on being a good off the ball scorer. I mean, he's good with the ball in his hands, but if you're gonna, like I said, coaches are really, really good. They have a lot of film, on a lot of these players, man. You see it. I mean, everything is 4K. It's not like it was back in the days where you had low resolution. You got 4K resolution, and you can really watch these guys now, and you can watch a lot of film on them, and you know what their strengths are, you know what their weaknesses are, you know what their tendencies are, and that if you're going to win a championship, I mean, you got to really, if you can't, it's just simple basketball. If you can't use your right hand, they're going to force you left. So you better start learning how to use your left hand now and make plays with your left hand. So I'm
going to give you some pushback. I'm going to give you some pushback right now.
Listening.
Why doesn't he work on the off the ball? I'll tell you 2 reasons why. One, the offense was built pretty much with him in mind, initiating the offense, him running the fast break, him getting a rebound and running it out, and 2, spacing. Why would you want him to play off the ball when his spacing with
No,
Claxton is going to just kill you? It makes no sense.
if Claxton can actually space the floor himself,
But
let's
he
say,
can't, though.
yeah,
What do you mean that he can't?
you know what? I got people that come on my show and says that he actually can, and the coaching staff isn't letting him.
He can hit a 3 once in a while, right? I don't
They
think
said
it's
he's a 40% 3-point shooter, and the coaches, the Nets coaching staff is not letting him score or not letting him shoot.
Listen, I don't know if there might be something to that. There may not be. I really don't know. I don't care about that. I think he's going to be off the team. I'm more concerned of who's going to be the starter next year. Do you trust Daron Sharpe? His rebounding numbers, which is, keep in mind, actually, let's go over his numbers in general. 9 points, 9 rebounds. He shot 26% from 3, 57% from the field. Man, 22 years old. He's making $3.9 million next year. Then the following year, he's going to be a restricted free agent. If you think you're going to give this guy an extension, if you're going to sign him to a team-friendly deal, next year would be the chance. I think he's ready. He's second in the NBA in offensive rebounding percentage, third in rebounding percentage. He could make guys run out to him. I know you like your big men that could hit threes. I think if he could hit around 28, I'd like 30%. It makes the guys, the opposing centers, at least run out to him. What do you think about him?
He has to play with more force. I mean, that was one of the things coming, on the scouting report, though. That was one of his weaknesses, just playing with more force. I mean, if he can get up to like 31 to 32% from 3 and, going out there and setting screens, rolling, like diving, and then being able to actually make the pass out to the corners. I mean, he would definitely be a plus right there. I don't know. You think he's a starter though? I mean, when you look at other centers around the NBA,
he's 22 years old. You know what I mean? Like the guy's still, growing his game. He had 9 games with 20 plus minutes. He averaged 8 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. In those games, he averaged 23 minutes. So if you gave him 30 minutes, I'm pretty sure he would get at least another 2 rebounds, probably score 10 points. Listen, this is not an NBA Finals team. This is a team that's going through a quasi rebuild. And I think it's time to give this guy a shot. You have to find out if he's worth giving an extension.
Yeah, I mean, he would be better than Claxton. I mean, at least he'll give you some more size out there. I would definitely start him next year. I would look at really kind of starting him. I think it's the foul. There's another thing where he fouls a lot. He gets into this, he picks up silly fouls.
That's a young player. That happens though, right?
Yeah, that happens.
You gotta give
I like him. I like his ceiling. If he can actually, you look at other centers around the NBA, if he can give you, some like a jump hook or something like that, like a jump hook, if he can get like a smaller player switched on to him, and if he can give you like a little jump hook or something like that, that's the next evolution, to his game right there. But he's like a bigger Claxton, pretty much. It's not like he doesn't really have an offensive bag right there. We haven't seen it. Haven't really seen it. And I don't know. He's a backup to me. He's not really an NBA starting caliber center right now, starting wise.
I could agree with that. Like I said, the guy's still 22. I want to give him some minutes though. Maybe you give him 20 minutes a game as the starter. And in my mind, you probably want to get a veteran center, another like big guy to kind of help him out if he gets into the foul trouble.
See, if he can go out, if he can get, like you was just saying, if he can get up to 32% from 3, and you actually playing him at the 5, he comes up, he sets a screen. A lot of these big guys don't want to actually have to come up on that 3-point line, and he could be, like he could be like a poor man's Porzingis somewhat, in terms of being able.
Oh, you're crazy. What is no,
Space
stop
the
it,
floor.
stop it.
I said a
He's
poor man's
no,
Porzingis. In terms,
stop,
like how the Boston
bigger than
Celtics use
Claxton.
Porzingis.
Stop
You're
it,
not asking
stop
him to score. I'm not saying we're gonna run our offense through him, but just to go out there and set a screen, and let's say you have like a Brook Lopez out there. Brook Lopez is not going to really go out there and, close out on the 3-point line, scramble, get out there on the 3-point line and run them off. So that's the
That's
next.
okay. You're making sense. Okay.
Well, you compare him to putting him as Brook Lopez or something like that, you're saying?
No. You said he's a bigger Claxton. This man is over 200 pounds, bro, and he's 22. He's a lot bigger. He's already
265. Yeah, 265.
Let me finish. The rebounding has already been. He's shown he's one of the better rebounds. He's one of the better rebounders in the NBA in this. According to his small sample size, he's shown that he can rebound a lot better than Claxton. That's why I think you're completely wrong with that. I think he's bigger than Claxton. I think that he could bang with the bigger guys, especially when you give him 2 more years to develop. That's why I think you're wrong.
You know what? I want to see him next year. He's been hurt. He's been hurt before the injury. He actually looked, really, really good. And I'll agree with you there. I'll agree with you there. I mean, I like his size. I mean, what's his weight over here? He's 265, I think.
Something like
he's
that.
6'9", 265. Yep. 6'9", 265 pounds. And he actually pretty much had a good game today. He was 6 points. He was a +6 in the plus minus department. He gave you 8. Yeah, and definitely rebounding is actually really, really critical. If you look at like a lot of losses, it's usually you losing the rebounding battle pretty much against the other team. So yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right. I got to start winding it down. We went a little over time, but it's okay. I always ask my guests, what is your favorite Nets jersey?
The Brooklyn black and white jerseys, man.
You got any plugs you want to throw out there for the people?
Yeah, no, just my channel's BKNY Hoops. I stream there every other day now. I let Nets fans come on there and vent, and if you disagree with me, I'm not going to kick you off the show or ban you or anything like that, like other content creators I actually know. So
shots fired.
Shots fired. Yeah, I'm a people lover. Whether you actually disagree with me or you hate me, listen, I still love you as a person.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Big thanks to PKNY Hoops for filling in this week. I got 2 major interviews that I'm going to record next week. I think you guys are going to love it. You can follow me at NetsFansYouKnow on Twitter. Consider subscribing. It helps the podcast and YouTube's algorithm. And honestly, the more subscribers I get, the better guests I could have and the better content I could put out. All right, guys. Have a great day. Have a great night. I think we got like 2 games left at the time of recording. Let's go Nets.